Welcome everyone. Today's video is going to be a little different today. I've been mostly telling life stories from about 12 years ago or when I was in my late teens, early 20s. While this story may have people from the past, this is a pretty recent situation that I've had to deal with that's been ongoing for a few years now. This video is going to be about how I had to make the decision to essentially distance myself entirely from a friend I've known since 6th grade. So remember, if you watch this video until the end and you found it entertaining or relatable, give it a like and subscribe. I'm also curious if maybe some of y'all have had a similar situation with a friend or maybe even family. I feel like many of you could possibly relate to this or something pretty similar, so if you consider dropping a comment and tell me about it. Because I've been pretty much in my own head about the situation and it would be good to see other people's experiences as well. But without further ado, let's get into this. Okay, so this has to do with a friend that I've known for quite some time. See, I'd like to say, before going any deeper on the issue, I feel like I've been a person who has greatly had benefit from growth. Honestly, it seems crazy to say that because, it seems obvious, right? Well, some people, at least in my experience, grow at a lot slower rate or maybe just stagnate or not grow at all as a person and just regress backwards. So, that being said, a friend that I've known for a long time in the sense that we were roommates for several years and like I said, I've known him since 6th grade. But I have to say, when looking back at many things that happened in the past, now that I've grown, some of those things that, they have done seem like a lot more foul or just where I just would brush it off. I'm like, damn, that was kind of, why did I put up with that? But hey, essentially it doesn't matter like back then, but now in the present, you haven't looked at experiences, when your behavior or attitude was just like, kind of just negative or had a negative impact in your life, you should be like learning from the past situations and apply them to new ones in the future, right? And hey, I get that I am being pretty general, but in my experience, this is really what helped me grow in any aspect of my life that needed growth. Anyway, I met this guy, and I'm just going to call him my old roommate from now on. And I met him in 2001 in middle school. This is a different roommate from the party house era in my previous videos, but still someone I knew longer than any of those guys. Anyways, we had a pretty typical kind of middle school friendship, right? We were just, gaming, hanging out, chilling, his family would invite me on vacations and all that. We were pretty close. When high school came along, a lot of us that were friends in middle school got split up because there were different high schools, and depending on the area you lived, you just went to the one closer to you. So I definitely talked to him less on the reg, but we still hung out outside of school. And hell, his family would still invite me on vacations and stuff. And, we were still pretty tight then. And this is all just a little backstory to help paint the perspective. So let's fast forward a little bit. I go off to college and he went to school maybe 45 minutes away from our hometown. And I went a little bit further. Eventually I move out of the party house that's been in previous videos and then move in with this guy. At the time I was living there with a girl I was dating, and it was kind of rough because I really just didn't like this girl, and because she kind of guilted me into moving in with me. But some time goes by, whatever, we break up, she moves out. Now we're going to jump a little bit more further, and hey, I promise this is all not a ramble. I'm just giving you the backstory to help explain why this was a difficult ordeal for me. Anyways, this was around the time after I had broken up with the girl that was living with us. Some other friends that I knew split up their band, and they were good musicians and chill people as well. Well, my old roommate was always a pretty decent drummer. He played a lot and, brought an electric set to the place that we were living at, so, he wouldn't be loud at the neighbors and he could play as much as he wanted. I started talking to my friends who were in that band that recently had split, or at least a few of them. Because my old roommate, he was pretty down, and he always seemed to lack some meaning or something in his life, right? He would lie to his dad about going to college, and, he didn't really want to go to school. But he definitely needed something productive to fill a void in his life. So I kind of bring up the idea like, yo, you guys are out of a band. And I actually found a friend that wasn't in the band, but he was a musician as well. And I tell him that they all should consider getting together sometime. So they end up forming a band and, they played loads of shows for about 3 or 4 years. Hell, I believe the band only recently broke up. That being said, let's progress further down the timeline. So we were roommates at their first place after the party house, and then there was another place we moved into. And after we moved out of the second place, I went to go live with who's my current girlfriend now of 7 years, which that is crazy saying. I fucking love her so much. I don't even think either of us would have the sliver of the quality relationship we have if we weren't able to grow together and become better people, which is kind of the overlying theme of this video. Because if we weren't able to grow together and learn together and become better people together, I don't think the relationship would be what it is today. We both created some cool projects. I made my anime brand and she's a ceramic potter. And that's what she does. We're both in our zones and we're able to really take on anything. Even though we don't have the most lavish, our relationship and love is literally like priceless to me. Like sometimes, hell, dude, I tell myself I don't deserve to get this much love from one person. And I gotta be honest, I wouldn't have any of this if I didn't recognize how much I've benefited from growth. Okay, I don't mean to get all mushy, but yo, it is the truth. But hey, I digress. Me and my old roommate part ways. One of my best friends that are in the band with him tell me that he has left the band, right? And I'm thinking, well, maybe he just wants to reevaluate things. He wants to move back to the hometown and maybe he just needs a different experience and he doesn't want to have to be driving back and forth multiple hours, to do practice and all that, which is understandable. Well, everyone in the band was super supportive for him leaving. There were no hard feelings on their part. But my old roommate one day comes to a show. It was like a New Year's show or something that his old band was playing at. And it was shortly after they had got a new drummer. So when this happened, soon after, my old roommate starts to get a little weird. I actually remember seeing him at this show. And I don't think I knew he was coming. But I still lived in the same town. And he, like I said, he moved back to our hometown. When I remember seeing him, we were just talking, and I was just asking him how things were. We're just catching up. He was kind of lit, but he said something like, "Yeah, man, I had to go to the doctor, and when I went, the nurse's mind was blown about how high my blood pressure was." I think I remember him saying something like, they asked, like, "How are you even alive right now?" It was weird because it seemed like he was trying to brag or like push it off as it was like some kind of joke or something. Dude, I was like, we're like 28 or something at this point. I'm thinking to myself, dude, that is way too young to be putting your body through shit like that. I'm kind of concerned, dude. Because he definitely ate a lot of junk and shit like that, and definitely boozed a lot. But hey, I can't say much because I was kind of heavy around this point, and I also boozed a lot as well. But I never had it get anywhere to the point that he's telling me that seemed this dangerous. Anyway, sometime after the show, I chatted with my best friend that I had mentioned earlier. We're going to call him Gary from now on because I know he's going to come up in some other stories in the future. But hey, either way, I'm talking to Gary on Steam, I think, and he starts telling me what's been going on with my old roommate. Well, Gary starts getting a significant amount of drunk messages and calls from him. Dude, and this was something that is the fucking worst with my old roommate. He will call you or message you, right? Start the conversation off kind of chill and genuine, but then he starts spouting off some weird, super negative, insecure shit. It's like he starts like projecting it onto you like out of nowhere. So he's talking to Gary, and at one point my old roommate says, "Yeah, I'm just tired of hanging around poor artists all the time." And that was when my friend Gary just hangs up on his ass. Now, listen, Gary is a super chill dude. He was really one of my best friends, if not my best friend I met when moving up for college. You have to really, and I mean fucking really, have to do something just sideways or fucked up to get him not to talk to you like that, let alone him hang up on you. Well, there are a few other instances where a mutual friend of the band had a wild situation go down. The mutual friend reached out to them because my old roommate had done I really can't say for the sake of YouTube guidelines, I feel like, well, let's say it was just some kind of like incel vibe shit, dude. And I'm not judging or anything. It's just literally the best way I can describe the situation. It's really kind of manipulative and fucked up. And this is when I would start getting the occasional weird calls from him as well. I remember like a wave of negativity coming from my old roommate shortly after he decided to move back to our hometown and leave his band. He started having this attitude that the band should have broken up after he left and not get a replacement. I remember talking to him on the phone about this, and I'm like, dude, you left on your own will. I just didn't understand him being really awkward and negative over the whole situation. And he told me, "Well, man, it's hard to see someone in my place." And I'm like, dude, what? Like, I just don't understand. They wished you the best and were genuine. It's just selfish because you're the one that wanted to leave. And you're just mad at them for still continuing? Like, what? And another conversation I had probably a few months after this situation with my old roommate, this was when I had started my anime brand, and it was maybe a couple of months before I started getting growth on TikTok, back in 2020, I believe. Well, my old roommate had a sales position or something like that working for his dad, and I was trying to tell him like, "Hey dude, you should get creative and try to use TikTok to drive traffic." Like, shit dude, your dad, like you're working for your dad, you could probably do something like that. You know, just maybe use the local area or just have like an online presence, because the app at the time was really a lot easier to grow on, and hey, it's worth a shot. Man, the shit he talked about me starting up and trying to use like social media was crazy. Look, I get if it's something you just didn't want to do, fine. But dude was like super fucking mean about it. He's talking shit about how I can't do anything and how social media could never sell anything. Like, bro, I mean, TikTok's definitely helped me grow, and dude, tons of other people. Again, I just felt insulted because I just dropped a suggestion to an issue he presented, right? But dude, the level of disrespect that he displayed was just totally unacceptable. Like, I get it. I can take a no or whatever. It doesn't matter to me, but it just seems so unnecessary. And I remember this call really sat with me because I really just didn't want to talk to him anymore after that. Because even before then, every conversation for about 6 months at this point just led to something weird and negative. Now, there was one more time he hit me up and was nasty about something, and I really didn't have the time or energy for it. So I decided to send him a message. This is a few paragraphs long, just kind of telling him how I felt and how everyone else has been feeling around him. The message essentially says if he keeps this up, he's going to lose the rest of his friends and he will end up alone because no one has the energy to let you suck out of them like you're doing with your bullshit. Like, dude, everyone's older now. Some people even have kids, and people just have lives, right? And it was actually really sincere. I had no intention of malice in the message. It was more of a wake-up call and just try to be, I'm like, hey, do you just not know what's happening in front of your face right now? And of course, he just responds with, okay. And at this point is where I just like mute all of any conversations I have, like any of the threads, right? I'm not actually removing him or anything. Look, I have no ill will towards this person. I really just want them to have some self-awareness and just get a grip, really. Well, a few months later, I happen to notice one of the message threads I've muted has been replied to. I check it and he says, yeah, you're right. And when he said that, I'm like, oh, look, he might be actually growing. He might be actually learning. But hey, it wouldn't be fucking 2 weeks later that he's drunk calling me or saying some drunk bullshit over text. And keep in mind, I'm not even the only person that he's doing this to. Even our friend Gary's getting a slew of shit from him. Hell, I didn't even really understand how bad it was until Gary was like, dude, that's the first phone number I've ever had to block. And I could be wrong about this, but I'm pretty sure he blocked him after a time. Gary had told me that he received a call from him and my old roommate was hinting around that he had like some kind of terminal illness or something like that. And he was like, maybe trying to use that as attention so people would talk to him. Look, I don't know. I've not even talked to my old roommate about this, or he's never brought it up to me since then. And keep in mind, this is fairly recent. Anyway, the way that my old roommate was approaching all this was just making him feel really uncomfortable, and like Gary just really didn't know what to do with them anymore. So we're going to look at something extremely recent about this situation. This literally happened maybe not even a week ago. So a mutual friend of mine and my old roommates happened to come out as trans. And I didn't even talked to this person that transitioned in a couple of years, but I knew before that they were working on themselves a lot with like therapy and shit like that. But this person that transitioned, you know, they're married, and, you know, I've even seen better spirit in them, at least like their posts and everything since coming out. Now, I don't care about anything people do with themselves in their lives, but I also like to encourage people to find peace and happiness, to feel, you know, content in your lives. So do whatever to do so. So that being said, my old roommate gives me a call like maybe 5 days ago. And, you know, I look down at my phone and I'm like, well, you know, I'm actually in a good mood. I was sipping on some Dos Equis, man. I had the Dos Equis and lime going. Bro, I was slaying in Chivalry 2, and I was just pretty much unwinding at the end of the day. And I realized it's been a while since I've talked to him. So I decided to answer the call. My old roommate tells me that his dog had to be put down, and man, I felt really bad for him. The dog was really sweet and lived with us most of the time we were roommates. So we chat about a few things we remembered about the dog and catch up a little bit. Now, I can tell he might have a few drinks in him, but, you know, so far the call's really nice. But, sure enough, I start to hear the malice in his voice. Hey, have you heard about our mutual friend? The friend who had came out as trans was who he was describing. At first, I wasn't really sure who he was talking about. Then I'm like, oh, yeah. And I tell him, like, dude, I'm happy for him. And I was like, and honestly, it doesn't surprise me because they were doing a lot of therapy and, you know, just kind of finding themselves. And, you know, if that was something that they came to terms with that was inside of them, I was like, I can probably see how the weight is lifted off of them and they seem like they're a happier person now, right? Then I catch a weird vibe from him after I say this, and he kind of starts switching his tone to like, oh, I have no problem with trans people, but this person is doing it entirely for attention because they're a manipulative person. Bro, there it was. It was then. It was then I fucking knew this dude is never gonna change. He's in his 30s and he cannot help himself. He hasn't grown 1% since, well, over 3 years ago, man. Every time I try to be considerate, something starts out wholesome, give him 4 minutes, and it's turned into some negative hater-ass bullshit. And after 2 seconds of this, I just tell him, bro, I gotta go later, and I just get off the call. So let me just lay this shit out for a second. You're talking shit about someone saying that they're just doing something for attention when you have no idea about them or their life. Like, you've not talked to this person in like 3 or 4 years, dude. Why are you obsessed over some shit that literally does not matter to you whatsoever? Dude, they could have got dicks installed in their armpits. Like, what does that have to fucking do with you? I know I have so many things that require my attention, my energy, my responsibility in life that I just don't have the time to entertain shit like this. Like, dude, the person you're talking shit to is happy, married, enjoying life, like learning and growing, and here you are being sour for some old bullshit. Like, I'm sure this person has changed quite a bit and doesn't even think about you. The whole situation's just frustrating, man, and I really just can't anymore. I don't know if my old roommate will ever just get the self-awareness where he just needs something in his life that is meaningful so he stops worrying about all this weird petty bullshit. But I'm not here just to talk some random bullshit about a person that seems happier and you're just holding some old grudge about something. It's crazy, dude. Like, I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's the lack of self-awareness to see that, dude, you have to get something going on. Like, learn to quilt. Learn to knit, learn to like leather work or something, dude. Get like a hobby. Like, worry about your own life instead of worrying about people who don't even think about you. I also just want to go off the cuff and say, like, it's kind of hard for me to pay attention to anyone when they're negative like this. But dude, I care about this guy. You know, I've known him since we were in 6th grade. Hell, we like bonded over Way of the Samurai. Like, I remember the first day we met. But dude, there's no growth. I am not the person I was when I lived with him. I'm not this person that just like pays attention to stupid petty shit. Like, when I was younger, I was like, memeing on shit, whatever, all day. But now I've realized that that type of energy isn't something I'm about anymore. And I only want to do things that I want to do and give energy to things that I feel like it's worth my time. And I'm not talking about like some crystals and shit like that type of energy. I mean, I feel like something's being sucked out of my soul when I talk to this person. And honestly, if there's people that make you feel like that and they have no regard for the way that you feel or they're making you feel, man, maybe your time's better spent elsewhere. And that being said, I'd really like to know if any of y'all have had an experience like this with a friend. I don't wish any bad for my old roommate. Absolutely not. I only hope that he gains the self-awareness needed to give him the best chance to be more content in his life, right? And till that day comes, I don't think I can spend my energy interacting with this person. I just want to say thank you if you watched the entire video. It means a lot, and this is something that's been on my mind for a while now. And I hope at least maybe one person can relate. Remember, if you found this helpful, entertaining, or relatable, please like and subscribe for more content. But most importantly, take care, and until next time, take it easy, gamers.